Hello, you're watching Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. Today, the spotlight is on women, whether they are kickboxers in the Congo, company directors in Guinea, or bankers in Kenya, like our guest. Well, it's time for Initiative Africa. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. She's on the side of farmers, particularly women in the world of agribusiness in Kenya. A farmer and banker, Esther Kariuki, encouraged women farmers to fight for their position in society, and she doesn't lack any ideas for making farms and agricultural businesses profitable. Her invaluable expertise earned her the African Banker of the Year award last month. She's our guest today.
And our product of a small-scale farmer, and myself, I'm a small-scale farmer by extension. And I know the challenges that face any business person, whether large or small, is access to credit and access to financing.
Follow the dream of young African women who want to become kickboxing champions. In Pointe-Noire, 3 young women have taken up the challenge.
Here in Congo, there are no girls in kickboxing, just the 3 of us. If you want, you can see for yourself. There aren't any. In the world of sports, there isn't a Congolese kickboxer. So that's why I wanted to be world kickboxing champion.
Young women entrepreneurs are setting up their businesses in Guinea thanks to the support of more experienced female entrepreneurs to guide them.
I can help them to be formalized. I can give them advice, and I'm ready to receive and to coach them, to give them advice so that they succeed, like me.
When you think of kickboxing, you don't immediately think of women. This combat sport, which originated in the 60s in the United States and Japan before spreading throughout the world, is becoming increasingly popular among sportswomen. In Africa, professional kickboxers have already emerged. Last year, 3 of the 6 medals won by the Moroccan national team at the African Kickboxing Championships in South Africa were won by women. Enough to boost young female kickboxers in sub-Saharan Africa. Our correspondent in Congo, Jean-David Miamle, followed the ambitions of 3 young women from the Mpaka slum in Pointe-Noire. Take a look.
Three times a week in the rough courtyard of this modest concession in the populous Mpaka district, a trio of young ladies joined the 20 or so other male members of the Tiger Kickboxing Club in Pointe-Noire for intense training sessions. Kickboxing, a combat sport imported from Japan and Quebec, has seduced Rudolph, Merluche and Claire. During the training sessions, their self-sacrifice and determination are perceptible. For Merluche, her attraction to this Japanese combat sport is first and foremost a response to gain confidence and be able to defend herself, particularly in the context of domestic violence.
When I was living with my parents, my father and mother didn't get on too well. They were always fighting. That's what led me to say, no matter what, a man can hold my hand. If there's a problem, we talk to each other, like 2 adults, but in the end I realized that kickboxing had become my passion.
In a challenging environment marked by various forms of violence, Rudolph and Claire were easily won over by kickboxing.
Kickboxing is my passion. I like combat sports. I'm not too fond of martial arts. I'm more of a fist and foot combat sports fan. I practice kickboxing because it's a passion for me ever since I was a little girl. I've loved it.
After completing their secondary education, these young unemployed women did not engage into income-generating activities, as all 3 of them are betting on kickboxing to help them stand on their feet. Hence this great motivation and ambition to succeed. Claire, for example, is aiming for a world title.
Here in Congo, there are no girls in kickboxing, just the 3 of us. If you want, you can see for yourself. There aren't any. In the world of sports, there isn't a Congolese kickboxer. So that's why I wanted to be world kickboxing champion, African champion, world champion. I want to be a champion.
For her part, Murdish is convinced that this sporting discipline will enable her to improve her living conditions.
Kickboxing has also enabled me to set my sights a little higher, because when I see the other girls on TV, especially the European ones, they're doing it and earning good money, which pushes me to do my best to be like them in the long run.
The optimism is real and contagious despite lacking financial and logistical resources. It's a state of mind instilled by the president of Tiger Kickboxing and all his staff. Ormel Misege believes it is possible to earn a decent living and set an example through kickboxing.
Some people have given up what they were doing, business and so on, and entered the world of kickboxing and have succeeded in their lives. At the international level, the earnings are not in hundreds of thousands, but in millions, sometimes millions of dollars. So it's not hard to imagine that athletes can really make a good living out of it.
With hard work, a positive mindset and resilience, Rudolph, Lelouch and Claire are keeping their eyes open for any opportunity to make their dream of becoming international kickboxing champions come true and give them a new lease of life.
And it's time to meet our guest Esther Kariuki in Nairobi, winner of the 2023 African Banker Prize, who is fighting to provide Kenyan farmers access to innovative financial tools. The aim is to enable them to maximize their chances in an increasingly complex and demanding agricultural commodities value chain. It's her daily mission as head of agricultural activities at the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. She told our journalist Jefferson Kahinu what the bank could do for African agriculture. Let's listen to her.
Esther, hello and welcome to Initiative Africa. You are head of agribusiness at the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. Could you start by telling us why you chose this branch of banking?
Yes, I think we all come from, most of us. I mean, agriculture is the backbone of our economy, and our kind of agriculture in this part of the continent is supported by small-scale farmers. So we all come from those families. So I myself am a child of a small-scale farmer, and I'm a product of a small-scale farmer, and myself I'm a small-scale farmer by extension. And I know the challenges that face any business person, whether large or small, is access to credit and access to financing. And you can now imagine for small-scale farmers. So I don't know whether I chose this path or this path chose me, or we chose each other and found each other. But it has been an incredible journey, particularly given the infrastructure that we have in Cooperative Bank, that there is a unique bank in this country that has appetite for specifically the small-scale farmers. And it has done well for many years in that model. Yeah.
There's an amazing expansion of agribusiness in Kenya with a lot of emphasis on innovation. How do you help these entrepreneurs face these challenges?
So interestingly, Cooperative Bank has, over the years, transitioned to be a digital bank by itself as a bank. What that means is that the entire ecosystem of Cooperative Bank then has been on that journey of transitioning into a digital, to be fully digitized. And that means even the farmers. So we've carried the farmers with us. What we do, we innovate a lot. We have a whole division of innovations where we innovate on products around small-scale farmers, helping them with products and technology that they can use, from online banking that is very, very practical and very simple. Also integrating with other partners out there who offer digital products, allowing them to integrate into our ecosystem. And one of the things that we currently are doing is running an amazing partnership with MasterCard Technology, where they've developed a product for farmers. And we've partnered with them, and we are on a journey of transitioning our farmers into a digital marketplace called Coop Bank Soko. So Coop Bank is digital, and we carry the farmers and digitize their operations. Yes.
Where does the money come from, and how do you package it to meet your customers' needs?
Uniquely, Co-op Bank is owned by the farmers. So by that, we have a dedicated resource, financial resource for them per value chain. And then we also work very closely with development partners like the USAID. We work with organizations like European Development Bank and any other partner who has funding for the business that we do, particularly in agriculture. So we have our own fund that we have appetite to give the farmers. We develop very customized products for the farmers, from supporting them with input loans, farm input loans to access fertilizers, agrochemicals, manure, to support them to do the land preparation, all the way to taking care of the crop. We help them with picking advances, harvesting advances, which we call crop advance, that allows them to pick, if it's coffee, to harvest the coffee at the right stage, to transport the coffee to the nearest factory. We also give them working capital financing to allow them and enable them process the produce to preserve the value. And then we give them supply chain finance. They can keep the produce, warehouse it, and sell it across the year so that they also get to enjoy the escalation of price across the year. And we also help them access market. We partner a lot and go deliberately out to look for buyers of commodities and product that we are funding, so that as soon as our farmers harvest, they also don't sit too much with the loans and incur the interest. Then we are able to transition that to the off-takers. If it's a rice buyer, if it's cotton buyers, the cotton mills, if it's coffee, the coffee traders, we are able to bring them into our ecosystem and our farmers have access to market. So for us, that's a model we've developed and perfected over time. Yes.
What about the role of women in agriculture finance?
Yes, interestingly, agriculture is largely driven by women, and it's the primary production. If you go to the farms, the largest majority of the people that you'll find working the soil are women, carrying their children on their backs or having the child just next to them. So you find the women in the farms. If it's harvesting, it's now proven that women are so meticulous in the farms. If you need people to do good weeding, they will bend the whole day. But then you don't find that translating into the financial space, financial inclusion space. So women have the least bank accounts. They provide the labor, most of it family labor, for free. And then the men are the ones who hold the bank accounts. So I think for me as a woman in the field of financing agriculture, I have been very, very deliberate, because when we go into the board of the cooperatives and the farmer organization, you find it's men in the boardroom. And the first thing I ask them, sometimes I find myself as the only woman, and I ask them, but where are the women? And they say women don't want to put themselves out there to be elected in these positions. And then you ask them, what are you doing to deliberately have them here? And so I think for me, even knowing that there's a tool, financial tool, that we can use to incentivize these organizations to include women. So for instance, we work with partners who have either subsidized funding, cost of funding for organizations that have women in leadership in those. So I tell them, if you want to access cheaper funding or preferential rates or this incentive, include women. And so they have to go out there and deliberately look for women. So I think my position has helped me be able to carry more women from the farms to the boardrooms and to the decision-making levels.
Welcome to the second part of our show. Mentoring for startup entrepreneurs by more experienced peers is a fast-growing concept on the continent. Take Guinea, for example, where more and more women are setting up their businesses. This female solidarity enables the more experienced women to support the newcomers, and this support often facilitates the integration of young women entrepreneurs. Sayon Kroma reports.
Savoir à quel moment tu dois être dans le foyer.
A meeting of women entrepreneurs is taking place in this courtyard in a suburb of Conakry. Such events of female entrepreneurship are rare. With 20 years' experience in business, Saran Keita of the Amijors Cooperative for Women's Empowerment is explaining the fundamentals of entrepreneurship to these young women. Topics include drawing up a solid business plan, building a good professional network, as well as accessing finance, management, and the legal framework of companies.
We cannot have opportunities with the state and institutions if we are not organized internally. Suppose we don't respect the administrative norms, we have to get ourselves in order, pay taxes, register officially, and be formalized.
Qu'on s'enregistre officiellement, qu'on soit formalisé. Celles qui ne sont pas formalisées, je les ai dit.
For those who are not formalized, I told them to come, and I can help them to be formalized. I can give them advice, and I'm ready to receive and to coach them, to give them advice so that they succeed, like me.
The meeting of some 50 women is to create a network of female entrepreneurs and to teach them about the market so they can set up in business for themselves.
Bonjour.
5 months later, we catch up with Aya, who took part in the meeting. The 29-year-old is making a success of her decoration and agri-business, thanks to the guidance she received from her peers.
What time is your appointment tomorrow? 7 a.m. 7? We young people intend to revolutionize development in Guinea, and over 5 years, we project ourselves in the sub-region. We will try to conquer the sub-region with products that are purely made in Guinea, and to say that it is not only multinationals that can come and take our place in Guinea.
With an estimated monthly turnover of more than 700 euros, 10 times the Ghanaian minimum wage, the young manager is making her way thanks to the networks of women entrepreneurs.
Today there's a network that has been formed, and now I tell myself that it is not a one-year job, but it's a process, and I'm going to work harder, not to tell myself that I have achieved excellence, but to tell myself that I have already taken a step forward, and one day I will be proud to tell people that I succeeded because I worked. Because you have to be persistent to succeed today in the entrepreneurial environment in Guinea.
Several women's groups are being set up in the country. They are guided and helped by business angels, experienced mentors and coaches, as in this gathering of more than 500 potential women entrepreneurs meeting to form a new network. At its head, one of the most experienced entrepreneurs in the country, Mariama Satina Sai, CEO of Groupe Mondial Tours. With a career spanning more than 25 years, this former minister has been involved in tourism, football and the agro-industry, and is now leading this women's club, which aims to give wings to young startups.
Women need to have much more courage and believe in themselves. They are afraid. They say to themselves that no, it won't work. If we are together, this women's solidarity will give courage to those who don't have any. So I'm talking about solidarity, and today there are microfinance institutions, there are funds that exist, and there's a whole range of things that can help develop what we do. It's up to us, it's up to the women to organize themselves together, to think together, to push as many women as possible into the field of entrepreneurship.
SADEN, the Ghanaian Entrepreneurs Fair, is also part of this push. Another location in which an emerging economic elite can be trained. Over the past 3 years, it has helped 12,000 entrepreneurs. The objective is to build sustainable and successful businesses. The project's vice president is Salematu Sako. The 31-year-old is one of the key figures in promoting women in Guinea. Her initiative is intended as a framework for endorsing and supporting the development of women entrepreneurs.
SADEN wants to be an instrument that accompanies the creation of companies that can be local champions, national champions, champions of tomorrow. And for this, we must invest in training. We must invest in capacity building. This is what we're trying to do with many partners who support us and accompany us.
Today, it could be said women's entrepreneurship is enjoying a heyday in Guinea. Women are encouraged to take the lead, create their businesses and be autonomous. It is an important trend today as recent figures indicate that 300,000 female-owned SMEs are registered in the country.
For our guest Esther, Kariuki, helping women find their place in agribusiness is an obvious mission linked to her personal journey. How can women succeed in imposing their inventiveness on the world of finance to achieve more significant social equity? And what can banks do to improve Africa's economic prospects? Our guest explains. Let's hear what she has to say.
Esther Kariuki, let's now talk about you. Becoming a banker, was it your initial call? When did you decide that this was what you actually wanted to do?
Yes, so incidentally, when I was in high school, I come from a farming background. When I was a little girl, I was a shepherdess, I was a shepherd of sheep, and I'd look after my grandmother's sheep. And I did a good job because I grew the herd. And the sheep knew me. Every time I came from school, they would see me and start crying out to be taken out to the field. Then when I went to high school, I did agriculture, which was my best subject. Something happened after high school. When I went to the university, I didn't continue with it, but I did sociology and communication from the University of Nairobi. And straight away, I went into banking and found my path in agricultural financing. So it's been a wonderful journey, straight from where I've been and now financing the farmers and working closely with them. I am a farmer. I've become a farmer along the journey. And I think it's amazing because you talk from experience. And then even when we are tailoring the products in the bank, it's very personal because I know climate change is here with me in my farm, in our family farm. And so I'm innovating around what can we do to help the farmers cope with climate change. Developing products like helping them access water storage and water harvesting equipment, working with partners who are in that field for them to help us understand what does it mean for farmers to harvest water and keep the water so that it can take the crop throughout the cycle. So I think for me, that's where the journey started and it's been full cycle.
Are there still a lot of obstacles for young women wishing to get into the banking sector?
So luckily, I work for a great organization. Cooperative Bank has deliberate efforts to support women access positions of leadership. So it has been relatively good for me because the organization is deliberate. Our group managing director and CEO, Dr. Gideon Kariuki, has been very helpful and supportive to the women in our organization, including them in the board of management of the bank and also in senior leadership positions. And that's the thing, because our CEO, our group MD and CEO is a man, but he has made a deliberate effort to make sure that we are given positions and we are heard. And when he gives us that opportunity, he's been able to realize that women add a lot of value on the table. So I think also women, you prove yourself when you're given an opportunity, it makes it easier for the other women behind you to access those positions. Yeah.
What, according to you, are the main challenges facing African banking over the coming years?
Yeah, so I think the challenges that continue to face us back here in Africa, generally as Africans, because we bank Africa and the African business. So the problems that affect Africa is what we must overcome as banks in Africa. So obviously, access to collateral access to collateral that people can use to unlock financing, legal and regulatory framework. A lot of the businesses that we do are not well regulated, and that poses a big risk, obviously, for investors and ultimately for the bank sector. Also, the issues of climate change. I mean, even the business of financing agriculture, it's becoming increasingly hard. So issues of climate change, we must continue to innovate around that.
Finally, the sovereign debt has become a daunting issue on the continent today. As a banker, what is your analysis?
I think banks have a very huge role to play as far as the sovereign debt issue is concerned. Obviously, it's a real issue in our country and in other countries in Africa. But I think as banks, we sit at a very unique and very strategic position to help ease the pressure on debt. For instance, what we are doing in Cooperative Bank of Kenya is working closely with government, both national and county government, to help our coffee farmers, number one, be more resilient to climate change so that they are able to produce more coffee, better quality coffee, access better markets so that we can have more foreign currency coming into the country, which will reduce the foreign currency pressure. Obviously, you know, a lot of our debt is in foreign currency. So if we drive in more foreign currency, it will ease the cost of our debt. So the less we import and the more we export, the more we get ourselves out of trouble. And I think we have a unique opportunity, quite honestly, those of us in agriculture lending, because our economy is largely agriculture. So if we activate these businesses and these, levels of production back in the community, we are also able to have more people coming onto the tax base, which also broadens our GDP, and the debt burden becomes less and less. I think we have an incredible opportunity as banks. Yeah.
And last but not least, you are the African Banker of the Year. Congratulations. Does this award mean to you?
Yeah. Yes. I've been declared as the African Banker of the Year. And I'm very happy to have won that award. Number one, because I'm a woman. Number two, because I'm involved in the business of financing agriculture. Number three, because I'm a woman involved in the business of financing agriculture in Africa, in Kenya, smallholder farmer agriculture. And I think I also feel privileged to have been working for Cooperative Bank, an institution that has appetite for smallholder farmers, an institution that has developed sustainable lending structures and models for smallholder farmers. And it has proven that farmers can access debt and farmers pay their debt. And I think for me, the award is just a testimony that it's doable and it should be scaled in other parts of the continent. And it doesn't matter the value chain, but the model works. And this award is a testimony that the model works.
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. You can find the interview of Esther, Kariuki, as well as our shows on our website, africaonair.com. And of course, feel free to follow us on all our social media channels by liking, sharing, and commenting with the hashtag Initiative Africa. And don't forget, next week, same time, same channel, I'll see you again for a new edition of Business Africa. Have a great week, and until next time, goodbye.